we now know that nobody needs to be taught about software as a service. Nobody needs to be taught about IaaS. The moment I say infrastructure as a service, I basically straight away have organizations in my mind, Amazon Web Service. The biggest example, and I say basically the true leaders in the disruption. Now, imagine that in 2005, 2004, there were big organizations doing it, and when Yinching was talking about Fiji Xerox basically could transform, I could basically just play it simple that it's about an organization becomes a multi-billion organization in just about a span of 10 years. I'll give you a few examples and you will straight away relate to it that what these organizations have carved out themselves into be actually, and the biggest of the biggest organizations are still there, and organizations surpassed. Now, Amazon Web Services is a great example. Actually, they were doing something else, not at all related. They adopted disruptive technology, and IaaS is actually like the brand name of AWS, practically. Of course, now Service, CenturyLink, Rackspace, and so everybody, Dimension Data, everybody's talking about it. NTT, and every single large infrastructure company is talking about it. Now, similarly, in terms of software as a service, the early adopters, Salesforce, and of course, then you must have heard Ariba of the world, which is basically a procurement cloud. SuccessFactors, which is #1 HR cloud, rated basically in last consecutive 5 years, Gartner #1. Similarly, Concur, which was sold at about $9 billion, a 15-year-old company, which has just made money from transformation. The point that I'm trying to make is, we are adopting a technology 10 years before. If we adopt something which we can realize that has the future potential to be the disruptive technology, the benefit and the contribution that we can make to the organizations that we work for, or the organizations as leaders we lead for, is sensing it early what is going to be the next generation disruptive technology and adopting it today. If you adopt it today, as a corporate B2B perspective, probably you will be able to adopt it at a fraction of the cost, and you will actually be seen as the disruptive leader where there is a transformation that will happen. Now, I put this into perspective from an example perspective, what I mean today. The three elements that I'm going to talk about whatever I spoke in the beginning is going to be social ready mindset. How do I relate to it? I talked about 2005. I talked about disruptive technologies that were adopted from 2005 until 2015. The example was software as a service. I put into example which is Salesforce or SuccessFactors or Ariba. Infrastructure as a service, I give an example of AWS. Let's assume that we are having this particular session in 2025. In 2025, we are talking about the same topic. We take a pause and we imagine what could be the topic which is equivalent to an Amazon Web Service or an Salesforce in 2025. I gave an example that there are signs of disruptive technologies which are 10 years early. 2005, we're talking about managed service. What is great about AWS? Everybody know about it. Software as a service, we were talking about cloud solutions. We were talking about pay-per-use software. What is it? Software basically, SaaS is nothing but a pay-per-use software. 2015, 2025, what could be the change? Okay, I give you some cues actually, and let's see exactly whether we can predict or not, and let's see what happens in the future and how do we relate it as an analogy. We're talking about IoT, we are talking about Internet of Me, we are talking about reimagined workforce. We're predicting for the future actually for 10 years. Okay, before, I would not want you to exercise your mind before the lunch. I give an example, I say that lean workforce. It sounds very trivial. Everybody talks about it today. We have a major problem of human capital transformation. We have a problem of retention. We have a problem of attraction. We have a problem of development. We have a problem of utilization. We have a problem of underutilization. We have a problem of work from home. We have a problem of working culture. We have a problem of every single aspect, every single HR practitioner is talking about. We say, so what? What is going to happen in 2025? Imagine we have a reimagined workforce. Today, when we say Gen Y, millennials, everybody basically making a decision for every single IT company of the world is a millennial. 80% of them basically are taking decisions on that. And today, if we imagine that we are having an absolute lean workforce concept in 2025, and trust me, I today believe it actually, being in the industry of HR transformation, and that is my most of the time basically I'm talking about HR transformation in the last 5 years. I've spoken multiple times, and I feel that this topic basically would become the most important topic for me, because today I am basically first time trying to say that what is going to happen in 2025 without talking about any system, without talking about any mindset. I'm saying 2025 lean workforce. Let's try to deep dive into it and imagine that what actually it would look like in the future. Imagine that a 10,000 people company suddenly becomes a 2,000 people company, not from a turnover perspective, but from a workforce perspective. I divide 80-20, lean workforce and the basic monetizing workforce that is going to run the company. We can't have 10,000 people company completely evaporated into a complete workforce. No, that's not practically possible. But yes, we could probably have 2,000 people running the show, which are absolutely required, and remaining 8,000 actually are a lean workforce. What do I say as a lean workforce? Let's use another term, workforce as a service. We're talking about infrastructure as a service, we're talking about software as a service, we say workforce as a service. And can you imagine, we're talking about a hypothetical concept, so we won't go absolute deep dive into it, but probably it'll give a lot of food for thought for all of you actually to imagine it, that whether practically it is possible or not. Because I mean, we have, from a psychological perspective, mindset is that we have an anti-technology mindset typically. Every technology that's coming, come on, it's not going to work. So that's the concept that we have. But of course, that's why I do not want you guys to deep dive into it, but just leave with the thought-provoking discussion and say, can it really happen? Now imagine 8,000 people basically are working remotely everywhere in the world, and still every single person has complete ownership of the task they are given. Now, they will not think about disrupting that particular process of not working from home or working from home, because that's the culture. And that culture will only happen when we have a social ready mindset. When I say social ready mindset, give you a real example and you will believe what I'm trying to say. Facebook, everybody uses today, and everybody gives an example. You come on the dais, people talk about Facebook. I talk about Facebook as well. 2006 was the tipping point for Facebook. Before 2006, when I was in college, I probably used a lot of social networking platforms. Probably things like Orkut that come to my mind. Another one was Hi5, and there are lots, and you must have also used. I don't think there was a lot of difference in Facebook and the other ones which we were using in 2005. Why was it adopted? I think because of three points. Social ready mindset. People believed that it is something which we can adopt. People believe it is something which we can adopt because they had a nice system which was just nice. It was not a difficult UI or something, it was just nice. Now, I'm not showing about path breaking system. Facebook was not path breaking at that point in time, in 2005-06. Today, basically, of course, they have a lot of money, so they've invested. Just nice system. And the third was aggregate users. Aggregate users is when 100,000 people do something, we believe it's a reality. And the concept that I'm trying to tell you is today, do it when 25,000 people, 30,000 people are adopting it. That's where we are the leaders, we are disrupting the technology. Don't do it after 100,000 people have done it. Today, if you adopt a cloud platform, you're doing because everybody is doing it, it's a given. So you do not add a lot of real value to your organization, because of course, everybody is doing it. If you don't do it, you're not smart enough. That's why you will do software as a service adoption. You will do Amazon Web Service adoption rather than buying 100 servers in your data center. Absolutely. So you're not doing it, you have to do it anyways. Now, imagine you were to do something today in the next 5 years, which will be a given platform after 10 years. And I think that's what basically I want you guys basically to go away after this session, that what could we do today with a real value add to our organization, which is going to be a platform that's going to be adopted after 10 years like a given platform. And again, the topic that basically I'm talking about, future workforce, which is the topic of the entire forum today and tomorrow. But the aspect is, I'm using this word basically, lean workforce, which is virtual workforce. And again, the concept that basically I will just keep going between these slides so that it is easier. You can actually get embedded into it, that basically this is something which, what is the topic of the whole agenda, and then whether it basically gels into your mind or not. And then basically I keep giving you examples so that you can connect it together. So I'm talking about aggregate users, which is 100,000 people have adopted it, and you will adopt it anyhow. I'm talking about a system which is just nice. Of course, there has to be a worldwide adopted standard modern UI, modern algorithm-based system which can do it actually. Take example of Facebook basically, which was adopted, and not Hi5 and not Orkut was adopted, and the first topic was social ready mindset. Now, in 2025, imagine when we have this adopted technology of lean workforce, what we should be doing from today for the next 10 years in terms of making that platform adoption ready from both the aspects. One is from the corporates, who are the consumers for it. Another one is basically from the vendors who will be creating this platform. And the third one, basically people who will be facilitating it. And I assume that all three of us, basically, wearing these hats, are present in this particular room. And let's see exactly what all three of us would do probably to make it happen. I would say that when I talk about lean workforce, how to make it happen practically. The most underrated technology today is making everybody talk to each other still being virtual. Very simple, everybody has heard about this term, video conferencing. I am running a software company which does HR transformation. I have clients in about 7 countries, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Philippines, Indonesia. I give you an example. I'm talking to one of a very large gypsum manufacturing company in Malaysia, half an hour away. And we are doing a technology which is completely not, the number of people actually of the skill of HR transformation is not that enough actually as compared to the normal SAP ERP skill. So of course there is a learning curve for that. So of course the number of people are limited. The problem that we have in terms of making it happen for our customers is workforce not being present everywhere. And the moment we hire people in different countries, the cost goes completely high, which we have to pass it to the customers, and customers are not ready to pay because they compare that they get basically the same people which are in the same country. Again, then the skill is compromised. It is a very difficult vicious circle which typically can never be addressed when you're talking to a customer, because then they're just comparing 3 quotations actually. And then of course the value that you can bring or not. Imagine that they have a social ready mindset that video conference is a given. And again, when they have a social ready mindset, for a video conference system, we should have a just nice system. That means it should not be clunky at all. And when will it happen? When the social ready mindset, just nice system, and aggregate users come together. That means, I give an example, 50 other customers are using it and look at the benefits. I do not have those examples today. Why I do not have those examples? Because every single of this element is completely interrelated. And it will take 10 years to come about and make it happen. Now again, if customers basically, if we are able to carve out each of these elements in whatever best possible manner, let's say in the next couple of years or in 3 years, we are 7 years ahead of what people will do after 10 years. Because I personally believe that this lean workforce concept is the only concept which remains in the disruptive technology from an adoption perspective of any technology. We're talking about virtualized data centers, we're talking about virtualized softwares. What is remaining? Virtualized workforce. Of course, it looks very difficult, but one aspect which I want to talk about is video conferencing. Very simple. I got nothing to do with it. I don't sell video conferencing, but basically I feel like this is one most important element, and again, how to make it happen seamless. That I've got 10,000 people and they are being serviced from 50 different countries. Although my market is only 10 countries, still I get the best of the best people. And the millennials have a mindset of being employed by a Brazilian company which is servicing European base. Again, they will think about that I can actually be hired in Brazil because I am in Brazil, and at the same time I can service, and based on my skill, I will get paid. Rather than I get paid because of an offshore or an on-site market, which is a major mindset today. I mean, again, that's what I call disruption. You look at it, actually it's so simple. It will apply to every single organization, not just IT organizations, but every single organization that we're talking about. A mindset which is offshore on-site. People say, come on, that is something which is a given. Of course, Yin was talking about that when was the major brain upgrade that happened actually. I would say simple, in small aspects, brain upgrade happens in mindsets. And the mindset is the most difficult to break. If you can break it, that's where basically leadership comes, future workforce comes into picture. Internet of Things is a concept actually, but then the materialization and the implementation and the embedded Internet of Things basically will happen in day-to-day lives practically. So now imagine that kind of a workforce, people stop thinking in a way that today when we come out of graduate colleges, we have to think about what kind of job we are doing. Rather, we think about what am I best at and what will I do. Again, every parent talk about their kids. We will let them do whatever they want. Are they actually enabling them to letting them do what they want? They are only sending them to school, and after that the college, and the college has either business subjects or engineering subjects, very often, sometimes they will land up basically doing a painting, which is such difficult concept. Even if that person basically is good at it, he will only get a window of 1 or 2 months actually to show his hands at painting. And probably he might be good at it after 6 months, but he wouldn't get a chance. But yes, at engineering he will get a chance of 5 years. At business school he will get a chance of 3 years. And that's where basically he might be average of it, but he will do it. But again, are we basically giving them avenues in terms of actual employability? We're talking about learning systems actually. We say employability, which is a lean workforce, virtual workforce, ready to be, anybody is ready to be hiring anybody anywhere in the world as long as they've got the right skill. And then people basically tend to work for it. I'm talking about lean workforce, and we are talking about virtual software and virtual infrastructure, which has been adopted today. So nobody basically needs to talk about it because that's a given. But virtual workforce is something which is still a concept, and people have not largely adopted it, and people probably can absolutely discard it. But what is your opinion about it, and do you think that what could be the way basically that future workforce could be adopted?
I think the technology to look at is virtual reality, because with the advancement of virtual reality, you can actually trick the mind to be in an environment that you think you are. And there are some very cool videos of people wearing the Oculus Rift and going on the roller coaster ride, and he got so scared. That was very fun. So I think that's the disruptive technology to look for. But by and large, right, I think as human beings, like one of the panel speakers spoke, I think we still need to interact, we still need to feel, we still need to talk to each other. That's important because it's who we are, right? As human beings, we'll go crazy, if we don't interact, right? That's how we create our world. That's how we create our society.
So Injeng brings a point that, and I would say basically that unless and until we are talking about a disruptive technology, and a point comes in where we really take a look at it from a feasibility perspective. So he brings a point that how much real human interaction touch that we're going to give. And again, basically my answer to that would be that this is the most prime and paramount important point actually that we could do it. But again, in aspect of solving a very large problem, how much this particular aspect needs to be embedded in order to make it an equilibrium system. And that's where probably I would say that when each of these paradigms basically and these parameters actually come together, whether it can finally happen. Anybody else wants to share or believes basically that a 10,000 people organization can be a 2,000 people organization, and what probably could be done? Okay, I take another example of it apart from video conferencing. I would say that we have today when we are running a human capital transformation, we relate it basically to the profitability of the company. Now, why do we relate it to the profitability of the company? And that's where basically disruption happens, because disruption cannot happen for a function. When I say profitability of the company, actually it is a 10,000 people company, or let's say take example of a mid-sized 2,500 people company spread across 6 countries. How much importance actually you can give to the people, and why would you give so much importance that the stakeholders or the organization as a whole basically can benefit from it? So I say that human capital is the one who sell, human capital is the one who manage, human capital is the one who decides, strategize, operate, service, everything. That means we are the people who are doing every single thing for an organization to make it work. That means we are the entire stakeholders of the company, and if we are being taken care from the aspect of actually putting into an operational engine, is what the entire company will be profitable. Rather than that, when 6 years before, HR completely considered to be a cost center, where the ERP function of the company or the business function of the company actually is most important, but we do not give importance to the HR people or the HR leaders or the senior chief. Today basically this particular term CHRO is coined, Chief People Officer is coined actually, but we never had given that much importance. Again, why we did not give importance? Because we thought that HR is most of a supporting function rather than basically a paramount function. Now, when it is a paramount function, the stakeholders basically are at the board from an HR leadership perspective, and then they can actually think about it and make it happen. And when they think about it, they will bring about the problems that they have in mind today. Now, in order to be able to achieve a future workforce, I will basically connect it back to this particular topic which I am saying. They will talk about the problems. And what are the problems? I am having problem in hiring. I am having problem in doing appraisal system, because today we are talking about next generation of performance management. Deloitte, PwC, everybody's talking about giving away the appraisal system actually, which is taking so much time from the managers. Now, again, I personally feel basically that these are there's a lot of mathematics basically gone behind it in terms of the number of hours that are going in, but it is a major problem. Are we able to solve that? Nobody has proven that performance management simplified will actually earn big bucks for the company. Today, the analysis is the number of hours will be reduced because the managers are spending time which is not coming useful. So if they don't do it actually, then performance system is simplified. Now, these are the problems a CHRO will bring to the CEO or to the board that we have today. Again, he will talk about, do you have the best of the best modern system? Are you adopting it? Are you outsourcing a function? Are you able to run in a BPO fashion? Are you basically establishing a function where you have business partners, you have center of excellence? Now, these are each one of these matured terms that today every single leadership and any organization is facing. But again, we are not able to address them to a level that it brings to a disruption. We are able to do it that, okay, we will do process outsourcing, we will do system outsourcing, we will try to make money for the organization by negotiating with the best possible technology that is available in the market. But again, are we going out and finding out that we are adopting a disruptive technology? And that's my point actually, which I would again emphasize, that we as HR practitioners, we as the stakeholders and leaders of any organization, are we able to think about future workforce? Are we able to think about the disruptive technologies out of the box today and try to adopt and work for it? Now, the final message basically that I would give actually in essence is for the companies which are adopting the disruptive technology, the companies which are creating the disruptive technology, the companies which are facilitating. These three elements of it is that if we are able to do it early by breaking these three concepts, just nice system, aggregate users, and social ready mindset. Out of these three, if we are able to break out into two and adopt something, we will definitely create the value for our organization, which basically what I translate this particular session into, how do I adopt my organization to reap the benefits of digital and drive business value? It's a very simple thing that I am not waiting for a disruptive technology to disrupt me. I am trying to find the existing technologies which will become disruptive and adopt them now to get the business value out of it. And that's where I feel that leaders should think about it like that and then adopt it. They will become the early adopters of disruptive technology. And that's why I started with Facebook 2006 was not disruptive. Salesforce in 2002 when it started was not disruptive. Amazon Web Service before that, basically when it started, was not disruptive. It became disruptive when there was an aggregate usage. And don't wait for that aggregate usage, but probably adopt it early and think out of the box. There will be large benefits that the disruptive technology providers will be able to bring you that just nice system, which they wouldn't be able to unless that many number of users are using it, unless basically that particular thought is being told. I hope basically that I did not make a lecture of Internet of Things, but I just tried to give my overall picture in the journey of the last 10 years, what I have seen is, and what I feel probably is the bottleneck of adopting disruptive technologies. I take a couple of minutes to talk about rolling arrays. We are a Singapore headquartered company with offices in about 6 countries today. We started off in early 2009 as a SAP partner, and from 2010 onwards we have been doing purely HR advisory and HR automation. So we talk to different companies, we understand what are their HR processes, what is the cost center operation and how to make it as a profit center operation, and automate it with the best technology present. And every single conversation basically that we try to do with our customers, is with the mindset of adopting the best HR system available and adopting it in a newer fashion, rather than adopting in a general fashion, which is a typical performance, learning, or compensation. So adopting it for the future. That's what we'll probably try to bring in differently. And SAP basically has recognized us in terms of what is the contribution we have done to the Southeast Asian and Asia Pacific customers. Some of our customers basically, namely like, it must be on the brochure, but generally just to give examples, Swire Pacific Group, which owns Cathay Pacific, Coca-Cola, CDL, BW Maritime, Singpower. A lot of these customers basically we have serviced actually from that perspective. These are a few of the awards basically that SAP awarded us in the contribution of HR software and cloud software basically that we have done. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. And if you have any questions, I am absolutely glad to answer them.
I have a question. Referring to your social ready environment.
Social ready mindset.
Social ready mindset.
Yeah.
In our interaction on a daily basis where humans are involved,
Yeah.
There's ethics and there's morals, values involved, right? When we transfer this into technology, programming, application, what is your take on programming morality when something goes wrong with a machine, in an accident, could be an error in calculation, when lives are involved, or even data be compromised and things like that. Is there this thing called programming morality, where certain bodies or agencies will overlook over such development?
Okay, I hope I understood the gist of it. I just try to answer it. Then if I couldn't get it, actually, I will ask you again.
Sure.
What I understand is you are trying to ask that what is the how to one is doing a mistake and one is you are working for a system and then you do a mistake. Whether the system is responsible for it or you are responsible for it. Is that the question?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I would answer it when you are. I mean, it goes down again basically about the lean workforce and the ownership that I was talking about. I would answer it that if we are working for a company, we own a part of it. It's like a shareholder, practically. Not from a contractual perspective because we've been paid and that job is our responsibility. And again, you are working for a company and the company is big and we are a drop in the ocean. So both of them basically are completely tied to each other and each of them have equal skin in the game. And the moral comes into the picture when the employee and the employer has that equilibrium that when the problem happens, what is right will take precedence. Rather than basically thinking about that whether it was my mistake or the employer's mistake. I give you an example. Sinoco Energy is our customer and we've deployed a system called CAMS for them, Competency Assurance Management System. The aspect of that system is they have a big plant, let's say cement plant actually, where they are producing energy, and in that actually there is a cooler, and a guy is cleaning the cooler. He's an engineer, and if there is a mishap in the cooler, actually who's responsible for it? So they have put in a place that there are 10 competencies, and each competency is mapped to a learning. Every day that guy does it, actually, the supervisor will make sure that particular learning is ticked, and if it is not ticked, actually it is his responsibility. And if it is ticked, actually, it is the manager's responsibility or the organization's responsibility because they did not map the competency. Now, this is one system in place to automate it. Again, when we're talking about theoretical concept, actually, because sometimes actually this is a system in place. An organization to make it more effective can do it. At the same time, whether there was a human error in making that tick and who is practically responsible for it is the ownership of both the people. And I think when that could be broken, right, how do I address you?
Domingo, please.
Domingo, yeah.
Yes.
If that can be broken right, that disruption can be adopted. That means everybody thinks that we are part and parcel of that particular organization, wherever we are, and then we work for it, and then we are so honest basically that we are rightly paid, number one, and then basically we work for that organization as if it was our own function. Then wherever we are, it could be there. At the same time, basically that moral principles are so much embedded between both the parties that sometimes even if they are poles apart, they are able to walk on the same path.